I'm sorry, what?
All right, Maralyn, I love your outfit. I love that color green. It is such an honor to meet you and talk with you today, especially after seeing your wonderful performance on the big screen.
I must admit, I was a tad overwhelmed. I came out after the preview and 2.5 hours of, whoa, it's at you, whoa, it's at you. And Todd, who is head of marketing for Coast, looked at me and said, isn't this just great? And I was like, yes, yes, it's great. What was that?
Yeah. Yeah. We watched the episode that Ashley did with Alan, her interview with him, and he was like, yeah, right after it, I had to put my Instagram on private. He was like, it was so overwhelming.
It was an amazing project. It's lovely to flow with somebody's wild dream. And that's, Tobias he had this dream and we had to flow with it. I think one of your questions that you wrote to me was it all scripted within an inch of his life? And that answer is absolutely not.
Yeah.
And all the times that I have ever worked with them for the last 3 years, or is it more, you get a lovely script. And of course, I'm a New York stage trained actress. That's what they wanted when they hired me, somebody who really knew the craft. Great. So I memorized and I'm ready and I get to the mausoleum and I'm totally, and they went, oh, we're not doing this. I went, oh, we're kind of doing sort of that, but not, can you riff on this? Now, I did Second City for years, so yeah, I can riff on anything. Riffing for 2 weeks while filming, that's a bit much, but it was really just a blast.
Yeah. Yeah, we could really tell that I watched the film like 4 times, okay? And a little embarrassed to say that, but I just couldn't help but go and support you guys, because as much as I loved watching the concert part of it, what I truly loved, and maybe Sabrina could talk about this too, was your guys's parts and feeling that connection. And like I said, I just watched the episode Ash did with Alan, and he said, the scene where he really connected with Copia was done in one take, and he really pulled it out from himself and really emotional. Did you have a favorite part of any of the scenes that you filmed?
I had a couple of big faves. The last one, the very last one after the credits, that's my fave, because that is more me. I get to smartass the character. Loved it.
It was perfect.
Alan's and it was like, no more of you. It was definitely a fave, because you get to be yourself within the character, which is part of the reason you perform anyway. And the others are the transition from being the head of the clergy, which is a kind of a sort of a cross between a Nurse Ratched and a Morticia Adams gig.
Oh, yes.
And then you get to go to what you are, which is a mom. And how are you going to talk to your child about the fact that this is now changing? So, and those lines changed constantly. I had no idea what line was coming now. Okay, look, this is okay. And if we're going to change it again, can I have a cue card? Can I have a hint? Where are we going? And it was delightful. You just find that place where you want to tell everyone things change. Things change, honey. And you're going to have to change with them.
I love that.
Yeah, it was great.
Very true. Would you say that this was a challenging transition to go from head of the clergy to, give it over to your son Copia as now Rite Imperator? Would you say that, and also just emotional wise, the way you've mentioned that it's different to talk to him as head of the clergy than to speak to him as a son. Would you say that it was actually difficult, or did you have to change anything?
I think you have to go back to when we originally began, to that the plastic surgery gig.
Love it.
I had his balls. That's pretty fun. And I remember Adam, who's Mr. Record, said to me, "Can you?" I said, "Alan, I got it. I got this one." So to go from that character, keep in mind we filmed these at Tobias's whim, it seems. So all of a sudden it's all hands on deck. We're filming next week. Wait, not Tuesday, but Friday of Tuesday of the next week.
Gosh.
You go, okay. I do a lot of work in between. Obviously, I've been an actress for a very long time, and I do a lot of commercials and a lot of different shows in different countries. So adjusting your schedule is difficult. But to return to the question, it is an evolution always in a character, a long-term character. So you begin as somebody who slept with somebody who was a big secret until the movie came out. And you have this job and you run everything so that everything stays the way it's supposed to for his return, when he returns, if he returns, with his tricycle or not. And then you have the next evolution is Saltarian came in, I think 2 or 3 pieces later. And am I protecting him? Am I looking after him? And Tobias we have such great conversations on set. I do miss that when I don't hear from him at all, because of course he's doing his thing and I'm doing mine. I miss the intelligence and the wild skewing of conversations. We'll talk about religion in the 3rd century. We'll talk about the change in the St. James Bible. We'll talk about, what are you eating? We're talking about what are the kids doing? And it's fluid and easy. So making the ultimate transition. I remember when we were filming me in the death scene at
Yes.
And he said, "And then you're going to die." And I looked at him, I said, "What do you mean I'm dying? You like me." What? And then he said, "No, don't worry. I do like you. It's okay." I was like, okay. So, it's cold at the LA Forum on the cement floor. Anywhere on the cement floor is cold. And I have to sort of crash out on it. And you have the people come in and they're doing the thing. And he's over here looking. But he wasn't there, of course. I'm playing to a space. And then you have the part where I'm lying on the gurney. And he says to me, "You don't mind if I fall on you, do you?" And I said, "No, other people have fallen on me. It's fine." So then turning in to, "Oh, by the way, are you free in January?" "No, I'm not free in January. I forgot what I was filming. But we're doing it in February." You can't say you're free or not free anyway, because they're going to change it a lot.
Yeah.
For anybody to tour that long, that's insane. Brilliant and wonderful, but the fortitude of a rhinoceros, that's incredible.
Absolutely.
Going, I've toured, in different companies and different shows, but that's monster. So when I came to New York to film the rest of the show, it was, again, it was another marathon. It was supposed to be, 8 hours, Maralyn. We know you don't work more than 8 hours. Oops, it's 10. Oops, it's 12. Oops, it's 14.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so that transition, you're in New York, you're tired, you're pooped, you're baby. Did you have fun in New York? I worked. Driver picks you up at 8 o'clock and you come home at 9:30 at night and you go back to bed. Gee, New York was fascinating. So that transition to be the mom who's worn out and exhausted and wants the best for you but can't stick it out anymore, that was almost true to fact.
Yeah, it seems like it was almost method acting at that point. You're working so hard, not knowing what you're doing that day.
That hour.
That hour.
It keeps you on your toes. Let me just tell you that. Totally keeps you on your toes.
Oh my
Because I take
gosh.
that very seriously. I'm a New York trained stage actress. It's kind of, but I need to know why I'm doing that. And he goes, "Oh, well, because this is happening, but maybe not this, because now I feel this way. and you roll with it. I can roll with the star because he's great. Rolling with the change of the personalities, fine. That's my job. That's what I do, and I loved it. It was great.
Well, speaking of that, are there any scenes that you shot that didn't make it in the final cut? Like, were there any lines that you were like, oh, I really came up with something good, and then when you watched it, you're like, oh, that wasn't in it?
I think there were a number of them because there were so many different takes on different things. Tobias would say, okay, we're going to do this. And then you're going to say, life is a circus. It's all a circus. I should know. I came from the circus. That's not in there. And it was good. It was a good transition. But editors rule, man. They do. They go,
oh, yeah.
Oh, wow. We get 2.5 hours. Not a lot of people want to sit through a 2.5 hour movie. And so we got to tighten this up and move that over. And there were a couple of those. They were well written. They were things that you can get your teeth into, and they went for a walk. But that's okay, because what we did get to use is valuable to the whole scene. It's like, I said something about, that was pretty good, isn't it? And I thought, what? I mean, that what really is me going, what? Like, what
oh my gosh.
Am I supposed to say something now? That curiosity in my face is totally genuine.
I loved it. I think there's also the part where I don't have seen many people talk about it, but you can really see Copia or Papa not knowing that sister is not feeling well, or that she's like sick or whatever, and you can see the camera work of whenever he is looking at you, you can see his his way of, oh, you're okay, you're healthy, everything is well. But whenever you see you talking and you see your back, you can see you're in the wheelchair and you're not really doing well, also when he's not around. I think that is very, very interesting, and I haven't seen many people talk about this, which just shows all the
an interesting
different ways people were putting thought into it.
It was an interesting evolution for the character. And I think, like most of us, if your parents are ill or your children are ill, you don't really want to see it. You don't really want to know that they're not going to be there. And I thought he handled it really well. If you were able to freeze frame on it, you would see that there's a whole heap of pills in front of me, boxes saying Sister Imperator.
Yeah.
And the lovely young man who helped me every time we had to stick that tube on and then pull it back. Is it tube or not tube? Are we tubing? Not that transition is difficult for everyone. And I thought he played it well. Not only was he leaving, but I was leaving. And so there's your buffer between you and the world, which is your parents and your guardian or your guide, Saltarian, etc., etc. And then Alan with his, you will do this again.
Crucifix pose.
Exactly.
Yeah, hearing you talk about it, it just really brings up how beautiful it is, especially with the fandom, because the fandom has really grown over the past few years and has gotten really close to all of the characters that he's created. And I think what the general theme of it is, change is scary. And just like you said, I think all of you guys did such a great job. Now knowing that it was kind of on a whim,
Surprise!
kind of, but really on a whim, that it just makes it all the more touching. And it makes me appreciate it more as a fan. And I really hope to see more of you guys in the future.
I do too. I love working with him. He's absolutely a doll. It's like, it is very similar to having your own child talk to you. Like, my kids are really smart, really fun. They do a lot of very important save the world things. I'm extraordinarily proud of what they do. And it is that moment where somebody respects you. It's like when he said, and you're going to die. And I went, what? Like, what? No. It's knowing that he cares so much about his fans. It is, you're a constant part of every conversation, which is remarkable. I have friends who are married to huge movie stars, I don't think I've ever heard them talk about their fans, ever. In that Tobias says, well, the fans would like this, or they would like that, or this. So I have to tell you that this was such a surprise for me that people would support not only me as Sister Imperator, but me in the new show that we're creating called Now What? I mean, what a brilliant idea to let's put it up and see who really cares. And people really have been extraordinary.
Oh yeah.
So I don't care if that donation is $1,000 or 10. It's just, and it's genuinely given. The whole part about this transition with Tobias, watching him wade through the morass of religious rubbish that's out there and come through with a concept and a manner of music. I have a wonderful friend who created a program called Muse, which teaches people to play music without the traditional da na 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 na. And when I first was approached by Loma Vista, I said to him, dark metal. What is that? And I gave it to Patrick and I said, could you please listen to this and tell me what you think? And he said, this is one of the most musically sound and strong series of songs I've ever heard. I went, oh, okay, well, that was indicative. Take the gig, take that and play with it. And I take so many things where you don't get to play. You're the judge, or you're the grieving mother, or the FBI or whatever. This was a perfect shift for me.
Yeah. It must also be nice to have a kind of freedom to put yourself into the role and have the freedom to say what you think would be best in the moment or act how you think would be best.
I am a trained actress. I would never do that without asking. You have to ask. So when we had Jesus is Coming, and then we just let it sit, and I said, Tobias, is it okay if I say something to you about this? And he said, absolutely. But I said, you would never leave a line like Jesus is coming without saying something like, well, he can't have my room, or whatever at the end of it, because that's the punch. And he respects that, which is also great. I think I'm the only person who does that. I think Alan rolls with whatever's going on, but mine is, how about this?
Sabrina.
Which is a good thing. Like the wardrobe.
So, yes.
The wardrobe is actually my
Sorry, my internet was a little bit. Anyway.
I'm listening now that we're all back.
Now Jillian wrote down one of the questions about your death being quite kind of surprising. I have to say, I don't think it was that surprising. Like, actually react the first way. Like did you hear it on set? Like, actually, like you were saying, like on set that you're going to die as sister?
I did not know until like
or was it like
that day.
did you kind of know
at all?
Wow.
I'm going up to do whatever I'm doing to, and then when he said it was at that we had that conversation that I told you previously. I thought, oh well, it's been fun. Thanks anyway. And then to be called to New York to lead up to that. There's something called Ghostpedia. I read through it initially when I was trying to figure out who is who on all of this anyway. Where are we all coming from? And it doesn't. It had to be inevitable. Somebody had to die. Somebody had to go. Saltarian is not present enough in the last 4 years of saga to, like, he goes and nobody goes, oh well, didn't know what he was doing anyway. Alan is already dead. That leaves me.
Oh no.
Knowing that it didn't actually occur to me that this was going to be happening, but it was, when you see it in retrospect, it's an obvious next choice. And it's fun to be the ghost. It's fun to be a ghost at the end.
Yeah.
Smart mouth off Alan. That's kind of a fun thing.
So we actually have 2 questions from fans if you're open to answering them for us.
You tell me what they are and I'll tell you if I'll answer them.
Okay. The first one is from our friend Tomka. She's from Germany. She would like to know, have you ever seen a role in a movie or a TV show or even something you've auditioned for where you wish you would have gotten the part or that you wanted to play that part?
I have been working in this business since I was 14. I am 104 years old.
No.
That there are probably thousands of parts that I've auditioned for. The good thing about training with the right teacher is it tells you prep as much as you can. And that's just not reading your script over. Then it's who's the character? What are they doing there? What were they doing 5 minutes before the scene started? Where do you want this to go? What is the arc and what you have to say? Then you go and you audition. And as you leave, you rip up the piece of paper, boom, and you do not think about it again. And then if they call you, you can go in fresh. If they call you. I've done thousands of movies and billions of commercials. And occasionally something will come up and I'll think, gee, I would really like that. There's a movie I auditioned for recently where I was supposed to be the head of a ballet school who lets a child know you've aged out. We don't do sugar plum fairies with your age anymore. Because I am also a professional dancer, it really rang home with me. And I thought, oh, I got this. Never called me. And it's a casting director I've worked with before. Next.
Rude.
Do not become an actor. Not have the skin at all, ever, never. You don't get off the bus from Nebraska or wherever when you were head of the school play and nobody loved you and land in Hollywood because they will eat you.
Yeah.
You arrive
I'm too sensitive for that.
what you've done and what you are capable of doing. And then you have to be prepared for the never-ending rejection. Never ending. And just deal with it. And find ways of dealing with it. You know, do you have a yoga practice? Do you have a great communion with nature? Do you have something that will relieve you, take your shoulders out of your ears so that when people do say, too old, too fat, too side, too this, too that, and they will, you go, okay, fine. There's another one, because there's always another one. So I think that is the answer. When you've been in it as long as I have, you know there's always another one.
I love that answer.
Many roles
Yeah.
did not land flat.
Sabrina, would you like to ask the next question?
Yes, our other friend Rebecca, she's
If her internet lets her.
put in one of my favorite questions. I feel ideal date with Papa Nihil be?
I think you said, because you cut out a little bit, what would my ideal date with Papa Nil be?
Yes,
Sister Imperator's ideal date. Yeah.
I would, let's see. Well, it wouldn't be watching fireworks. Bombarded my house last night. What would I? We would take a big stroll in nature because we live in a mausoleum. We live amongst the dead and the marble and the hallways and the beautiful artwork and the marvelous windows and all that, but we live there. So I would imagine that ultimately the wonderful deal for us would be a picnic outside. Now, there's in LA something called Hollywood Forever Cemetery. And they have something called Cinespia, which is a takeoff on the Italian Cinespia, where you watch films outdoors. You go to the graveyard here in Hollywood Forever, and you line up with a bunch of other people, and you picnic, and you sit outside and you watch a movie outside. That would be my Papa Nil date, for sure. With really...
I love that.
I love it.
That's a wonderful answer. Oh my gosh, I can't wait for everybody to hear that. They'll go crazy over that one. So now what? Let's talk about that.
Best.
I wrote you a little letter, and in it I explained that I'm personally pretty excited to hope this, catches on and launches off, because I am a huge fan of Golden Girls. I love Absolutely Fabulous. I love things like this, and
I think we're so sick of espionage and murders and guns and chopping.
yeah.
I'm sick of it. And Norman Lear, who was my idol, created things that made people laugh, but also made people go, "Oh yeah, that's what Now What is about." It's truly about this absolutely over the top older woman who could that be? And her brilliant granddaughter, who is so straight, you cannot believe it. And that's played by Vivian Sievers, who's fantastic. And when we got together ages ago, we were backstage at the SAG Awards, and I was talking to Viv's mother, Jean, who said to me, "Oh gosh, she didn't get this commercial." And so, Viv is 15, right? I looked at her and I went, "Then you move on, go on to the next one." And I said, "But I've written something called Now What?" I wrote the treatment for it, and I explained to her what it was about, how these two people come together from their very, very different worlds. And they come together to both learn from each other and because of each other. So if you're going to look at somebody, and we're also judgmental, the hair, the size, the feet, the religion, the part of it just makes you stupid, because we're too smart to be stupid. As a country and as a people, we're just too bloody smart. So we need to get away from things that ridicule compassion, humor, intelligence, generosity, and learn that every generation has something to say. And that's what you want. And if you learn it through humor, as opposed to somebody saying, "You will learn this," then it'll stick. In my generation, it was, oh, it's my grandfather letting me know. In my generation, it was all Norman Lear, who started All in the Family and the Jeffersons. Nobody did humor with Black people. Nobody did talked about racism. Nobody.
Mm-hmm.
And no one will ever forget the moment that Carol O'Connor, who played Archie Bunker in All in the Family, turned to Sammy Davis Jr. and kissed him. And there you are, in national TV. There was nowhere to go except national TV. This bigoted, small-minded, narrow character zooming in on Sammy Davis Jr., who was a brilliant man, the wrong color at the wrong time with the one eye missing. And he would say that all the time about himself. And everybody went, "Oh!" But then you also went, "Oh."
Mm-hmm.
And that's really the core of Now What? It's funny. It's really funny. Wesley Leckler, who wrote the rest of the script, I wrote the treatment, she wrote the script, is great at dark comedy. And this is dark comedy with some, we take stabs at everybody. And it's been great watching everybody come through with funding us. Our first batch of funds came from personal friends, obviously. And the second batch has come from everybody who wants to see something different, who wants to support what we do, who wants to laugh a little and learn a little. And I respect that more than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And that's Now What? It's great. Vera and Mabel taking on the world.
I love that. And just like you said, I grew up with my grandma and watching older shows on the television. So like Mary Tyler Moore Show, even Maude. Maude talked about so many big issues back then, like abortion and whatnot. Yeah. And the Golden Girls is top 3, one of my favorite shows ever. I've seen every episode a billion times.
The actresses, brilliant. Everybody's on it. And they also were out of the box.
Mm-hmm.
Norman Lear had set the stage so they could come out of the box. And that's what you want. Somebody who is strong enough as a producer to say, go, say what you got to say, do it. You get your script. And if you want to shift it just a little bit, you shift it just a little bit, because this is the generation. Viv and I are, 100 years apart in age. So it comes out great. It is exciting. Now What is a really exciting, fun, smart show. And we have John O'Hurley in it. And John O'Hurley played Julia Louis-Dreyfus's boss in Seinfeld.
Oh,
yep.
Nice.
If you go to IMDb, which is the International Movie Database, or IMDb Pro, you see this great cast of amazing people. Barbara Goodson, who played Empress Rita on the Power Rangers. So yeah, big time actors came out. Harry Zinn, who was in Crazy Heart with Jeff Bridges. People are substantial actors coming forward to do what they want to do in something that is richer and better than what we see out there right now.
Yeah. And what a better way to support something like this? We have partnered up with Ashley with Clergy Talk in creating a really fun prize drawing where people can donate at least $2 and they could be in the running for the grand prize of an autograph from you, Maralyn, which thank you so much for wanting to participate in this.
Oh, fortunately, good picture of me. I have no problem.
We love that photo. And this is also a big shout out to the Ghost fandom for supporting everybody who's in the band or associated with the band, supporting all their side projects. So yeah, we've shared this everywhere, and really can't wait for this to take off, and really excited for you and the cast and everybody.
Well, we have two of our executive producers. One is Jennifer Warren, who created the Alliance of Women Directors. Nice. And has won an Oscar and is beyond brilliant. And the other one is Mary Lou Belli, who created Queer Eye for the Straight Guy and won just a few Emmys along the road. So when you're in with a team that really wants to make a difference, you can do it. Reese Witherspoon had a great speech about all the stories where women, all the scripts that she was getting, where women turn to the men and go, "What do we do now?" She said, "I couldn't read another one. I couldn't stand." And so she went forward with her partner, and she's put on amazing things like Big Little Lies, et cetera, et cetera. So if you have to do a few Clueless so that you can do Big Little Lies, amen.
Worth it.
The fans have been incredible. I had no way of knowing that this was going to happen. It was actually a surprise when you told me. And then all these donations came in. I wish I could write a handwritten note to everyone and say, thank you. My handwriting's so terrible, I wouldn't count on that, but yeah.
I'm sorry, what?